You know where I can get to know you a little bit better?
Where's that?
The AdultDeck Podcast. The place where you come learn how to stack your cards against the game of life. As always, I am your host, Ronnie Scott and Sharon Scott.
The same thing.
I don't know. I've been kind of trying to take my name back.
Okay.
I am your host, Sharon Scott, and I am here with my husband and co-host, Mr. Peter Scott.
What's up, folks?
And y'all, it is with a very heavy, semi-heavy heart that I announced that today is the last episode of the season.
Woo?
Woo. I don't know.
You need a break.
Definitely so. And I think that's why it's like bittersweet, because I'm like, I'm burnt out. I need a break. I need to rejuvenate, renew my creative juices.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. It's been a good 11 episodes. I feel like we have accomplished so much this season.
You got 2 more episodes than WandaVision, so
Huh? 2 more episodes? Oh, 2 more episodes than WandaVision. Okay. Gotcha. Yes. And yeah, I mean, we had our first guest.
Few guests.
We had our first pack.
Yeah.
The marriage pack a little while ago, which was
we
going
did some
over
show reviews, WandaVision, and I
Absolutely.
think that was it.
Yeah, I think that was it this season. And it's almost been a whole year since we started podcasting. Our first episode was
on your birthday last year.
My birthday last year.
That's what, next week?
Yeah.
End of next week?
End of next week.
Middle of the week after that.
It's in a couple weeks.
It's coming.
It's soon. But it's been a whole year, and I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the lessons that we've learned throughout this first year in podcasting.
Okay. So what's up on your list first?
So the first thing is that, and it's kind of been my theme for the past couple months,
Right.
is just realizing that you don't have to be perfect.
Preach.
I put so much pressure on myself, y'all. Like, throughout this entire previous year, it's been so many times where I've been like, we can't have dead air because that'll make people stop listening, or we can't talk about this and say this that way, or like the video has to be perfect, the sound has to line up perfectly. Like, if we do anything that's outside of the perfect realm or the perfect podcast, then people aren't going to listen, or it's going to turn people away forever.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised she's doing this episode today with construction going on downstairs. You know, I thought that'd have been an issue, but that's not going away anytime soon, so might as well get it done now.
And I can't control what goes on around me. I mean, and that's part of it. And then it's also just like, you can't expect to be perfect when you're doing something for the first time. Like, it's literally madness, because it's like, you don't
your first
know.
time up at bat. You don't really know what's going on.
And you don't know what to do. You don't know everything. You don't know all the ins and outs. Like, with podcasting, I can't say that I want to do everything perfectly if I don't really know how to podcast. Like,
you don't know what algorithms you got to work with. You don't know how things work on Facebook and YouTube to actually get people here to watch.
Nah.
So it's a learning process.
It is.
You learn while doing with this thing.
And it's just like, you don't know everything. That's really just it. You can't expect yourself to be perfect when you're doing something for the first time.
I ain't Jesus.
Man, look. And nor do I try to be.
So
that was definitely a tough lesson to learn. And like I said, I'm still learning it. I mean, I feel like flaws is what attracts you to people, or what makes living worth it, essentially.
It's like they're as messed up as I am.
Yes.
At least that's what works for me.
No,
I kind of cling to people who are messed up as I am.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it.
What? Well, I mean, I'm realizing that I was going to say, well, what does that say about me? But it's just like,
I married her.
I'm pretty messed up. But so is everybody. So are a lot of people. And to feel like you have to be perfect, set yourself up for failure. Like, just learn and appreciate and take things in.
Learn to roll with the punches, yeah.
I'm going to know so much more about podcasting now that I've been doing it for a year than I knew when we first started a year ago. Like, it just comes from familiarizing yourself with things and experiencing what you're working on and learning new tips, learning new tricks, learning what works and learning what doesn't. So I am not perfect. Nor do I try to be as much anymore. I still get caught up in feeling like I have to be, but I'm starting to let that go.
I gotta knock her down a peg every now and then and ask, for what? Why? Why are you trying so hard? Stop it.
Oh my gosh. The second thing that was probably one of the hardest lessons for me was realizing that, yes, your family and your friends and everybody around you loves you and all, but that does not guarantee that they're going to support anything that you do.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of rocked her world. I wasn't really expecting much from anybody. I that's kind of how I lead life.
Not expecting much.
Don't expect much, and they can't hurt you.
I don't know. It's weird for me though, because it's like, you feel like, that's your family. You're supposed to support your family. You're supposed to go hard for them in whatever they're doing.
Your friends are like, we'll support you no matter what you do. And those same friends are like, but do I have to?
Like, do I want to? But that's the thing. People don't necessarily want to. And just because they don't want to, that doesn't mean that it's not worth it, or that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It essentially is just proving to you that you have to kind of stand on your own. And no, everybody is not going to support, but that's because they got stuff going on in their lives too. Like,
or they might have watched the first 2-3 episodes and it might not have been their cup of tea. So
it might not be their cup of tea. They may not have time to sit down and listen to a whole hour, half an hour, whatever long. And I mean, people, it's whatever. Like I said, people are not guaranteed to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And while it definitely hurts, like, I was like, yo, I have a plethora of family and friends. I have no less than 500 friends on Facebook. The least somebody could do is press the little share button like they do for all the memes and shit that they see. But they don't have to.
Here we are.
And I've kind of realized as we've been going through this that, like, the excitement and part of the journey of building a podcast and building, something is finding your audience. Like, trying something new, reaching out to people that you haven't reached out to before, and taking that limb, because you can stay in and feel like, my family's going to support me, my family's going to listen no matter what.
But that might not be your corner.
But that might not be your corner. That might not be your tribe. That might not be your community, essentially. And part of the challenge, but excitement, like I said earlier, is learning and leaning into finding your own thank you. Is learning and leaning into finding your own audience and reaching out to new people, posting your podcast on different Facebook groups of people who are interested in podcasting and who are interested in doing what you're doing. So yeah, it definitely hurt a lot, and I find myself getting very jealous when I saw other people who started stuff up in the pandemic and their family was the main ones, sharing and liking, and go listen to my niece this and go hang out with my daughter that, and it was just like, dang, like, ain't nobody gonna do that for me.
My cheerleaders.
But they don't have to, and I'm not gonna continue to pressure them to do so, because again, it just may not be their cup of tea. And it's not for them, but that doesn't mean it's not for you.
Mm-hmm. Your support group, your community is somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the second lesson, and that was a hard lesson. But next, I learned to just work with what we have. And I think this goes back to the perfectionism. I watch a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I kind of felt like, I had to have the $150 mic for it to be beautiful and clear. I felt like, we had to have the perfect set, or like a studio even, to go in and go be somewhere.
You gotta get a house first.
But I I don't have that. I don't have the means to go out and rent a studio space. I don't have the means to buy $1,000 camera or a $100 mic.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, like you say, you watch a lot of podcasts and everything. So you also realize that they didn't start where they're at now.
I had to realize that along the way too. Everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah, they didn't start with the $1,000 camera. They started with a nice little iPhone too.
But it's just like, it's the pressure of being perfect, and it's the pressure of feeling like, if I'm not immaculate, then people aren't going to want to stick around, or people aren't going to watch. When It's just, the reality of it is, if people believe in you and enjoy you and want to hear what you have to say, they're going to stick around through all that. They're going to stick around through fuzzy audio. They're going to stick around through, bad lighting, because crooked cameras because they know and they see the value in you and what you're doing, and not necessarily in the stuff that you have.
Very poignant.
Thank you.
I think that's the word I'm looking for.
It'll work for today. Another hard lesson, and as I'm going
they're
through,
all hard lessons for you. Just
it's been a year. But this lesson has kind of hit me in my chest. It's knowing that your podcast or your project or your whatever is worth it because you want to do it. That at bottom line makes it worth it. I have spent so much time looking at how many views our podcast got, and who subscribed, and who commented, and who listened, and how many minutes did they listen. And I tried to find the value in podcasting through the numbers and the means of everything else.
You got to define what your success looks like.
Yes, you have to define what your success looks like, and you just have to enjoy it for you. Like,
yeah, it has to be something you want to do.
Right. I can't enjoy it because of the views that we get, or I can't enjoy it because of the number of people we have subscribed. Like, that kind of sort of starts to make it feel like a chore. It makes it feel like you're starting to do it for other people. Like, you have to appease other people. You have to keep up. You have,
it's
and
like
granted,
you're making it a job instead of
a hobby.
Not just a hobby, just your passion.
Yeah. And I kind of lost that along the way. Like, the reason I was so open and so willing to cry on camera, essentially, in the first season was because it was me. I felt that every week when I got to sit down and have this conversation, it was cathartic for me. But then it turned into me feeling like, okay, I have to do this to make a profit, or I have to do it to grow numbers. And it was like, it became more focused on, what can I do to push our subscriber numbers? What can I do to make the podcast monetize and like make it bring in a profit? Because I felt like, if it's making money, then it'll be worth it. But it's not. It's worth it because I want to do it. And that goes for your anything. That goes for your painting. That goes for your car driving. That goes for your photography. That goes for and waking up in the morning, for real. Like, you don't have to find worth in numbers. You don't have to find worth in dollars. Because you want to do it is what makes it worth it. I don't think that people should allow outside influences to dictate what makes something worth it or not.
Yeah, one of the things I had to break, just in my life in general, was growing up, my dad didn't let us sleep in past 9. And it was more so, you got to get up and do something with your day. You got to carpe diem.
Make your day worth it.
Like, but now being an adult, want to remove myself from it. It's like, no, I'm waking up because I'm alive. That's good enough for me. I don't have to have a plan for my day. I don't have to have something to do that day. I don't have to have a mission. I don't have to have a whole construction project just for that day.
Yeah.
No, I want to wake up, eat my bacon, play my games, call it a day.
And I think it was very hard for me to feel the same way, essentially, because like I said in a couple of episodes, like I I'm not working a corporate job. I don't have a corporate job. I don't plan to go back to corporate jobs. But I still felt like I had to like prove, I guess, that me waking up was worth something. And it was never me proving that it was worth it to me to wake up. It was me proving that, oh, okay, since I don't have a job, I'm gonna be tip-top housewife. There's never gonna be a speck of dirt anywhere in this apartment. I gotta get up and cook breakfast and clean. And like, I never made my day worth it because I wanted it. I made it worth it because
you felt like you had to do something.
I felt like I had to do something. And you
got an image you need to live up to.
Yes. And it's hard because I'm going to
try to speak.
I was in the middle of a sentence. And it was hard because I had to, I had to work a real job. So like every day when I got up, it was to go to work. That was my worth. When I would get my paycheck, that was my worth. When I was able to pay a bill and, you know, like stuff like that was my worth. And I had to realize that my worth is not embedded in the productivity of my day. Mm-hmm. I can just exist, and that's my worth.
I don't know. It's gone now.
Okay. So do what you want to do because you want to do it. That's what makes it worth it. Don't feel like you have to set out to make a profit. Don't feel like you have to validate what you're doing. If I want to play my games, I'm going to play my games. It is what it is. And the last thing that kind of goes into what's coming up next for the podcast. The last lesson that I had to learn is to not be afraid to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I guess in a way, again, it goes back to the perfectionism. I said it right. But go back and watch the first episode. The first episode looks completely different from this episode. You can only do
that on Patreon, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. But like the first episode is nothing like this episode that we have now. You can go back and look at the 15th episode and it looks nothing like the 30th episode. And it's literally just because I am trying and I am working through and I am discovering more things about myself, about the podcast, about how I want it to look, how I want things to be presented, and how I enjoy doing the podcast, the format, the set, the everything that goes into building something and being creative. Yeah. And like I said earlier, if you're doing something for the first time, there is a 0% chance that you're going to be perfect. And even if you do it the 50th time, there's still a 0% chance you're going to be perfect because you're continuously growing and you're continuously figuring things out. I figure it out.
I mean, yeah, that's what life is. Life is just continuously figuring it out. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be perfect at your first day on the job. You're not going to be perfect at your first passion project, whatever it is. It's a learning process. There's always a learning curve.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've learned that like, again, I felt like I had to have the perfect podcast in order for somebody to want to listen or for somebody to want to watch and subscribe. And I don't have to. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to try to create a false narrative. That's not what my podcasting is about. My podcasting is about sharing our experience. And sometimes that experience is beautiful and wonderful, and there are great things going on in our lives. And sometimes that experience is depressing and sad and anger and like all of those good things wrapped up in one. Like it's both sides of it, and to try to create something where it's only one side of it and it has to be absolutely perfect this way is setting up for failure. Nobody is ever going to be perfect. I got to give myself grace and realize that I've learned things throughout this year that I didn't know in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And there are going to forever be things that I don't know. I'm still learning and I'm still experiencing all that life has to offer. So don't be afraid to figure it out. Don't be afraid to switch it up. I didn't want to be held down to the form that the Adult Deck podcast was in the first episode. And even now that we're at the end of our third season, it's still like things are definitely going to change. It's all about growth, and it's all about learning who you are and taking risk for real. Like, I didn't know that standing up, I didn't know what standing up doing the podcast was going to be like for us. I didn't know if it was going to hinder our conversation. I didn't know if it was going to like mess up the lighting or the sound, or I didn't know any of that, but I was willing to figure it out and try it. And I think that's one of the joys of life and of anything that you put forth is you get to try new things.
Yeah, and don't get it wrong, just because nobody's perfect or perfection isn't the goal doesn't mean you can't get better at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Like, as you see, we're getting better as we're going along. Sounds better. Our camera's not crooked. We got lighting. Things are going good, and it'll just get better from there.
Absolutely.
But you got to still leave room for things to go wrong.
And you have to give yourself grace for when they do go wrong, because everything is not going to be perfectly fine. Everything is not going to happen. I have talked about shows that I have wanted to start on the podcast that I said were coming that have never came to fruition. Yet. Well, it just didn't come through. And I can't say that, like, it's never going to, but I can say that, you know, part of growing and part of the community of people that I'm trying to pull together is that I might say it at that point in time, it was true. As of right now, it's not true anymore. And that's okay. Things happen. You don't have to be so, yes, stick to your word, but you don't have to be so, bound by it. As far as podcasting, as far as growing, like...
Plans change.
People change. You learn new things. And don't be afraid to figure it out while you're learning. And don't be afraid to go out on a whim and try new things. So, yeah, those are some of the lessons that I've learned throughout this year of podcasting. This is the last episode of the season. And along with the theme of trying new things and figuring it out, I have kind of felt the need to push the Adult Deck into something else. I feel like when we first started the Adult Deck, it was very lessons based. I wanted to, provide the lessons that we have been through, that we have gone through. And part of the reason why I've struggled to come up with new things is because we're still learning lessons as we go forth, as we go through things. So I want to turn the Adult Deck more so into us figuring shit out as we go along, rather than us being like, okay, we've already done that, so let's tell you how we did that. Like, no, we're still growing. Like, we're still figuring it out. And I kind of want to focus more on that aspect of life and not necessarily all right, I've been there, done that, so I'm going to tell y'all about it now.
Yeah, we'll forever be students of life.
And I want it to be more so a conversation and a discovery versus a lesson. So, I don't know. We might get a new name. We might not. I'm still figuring it out. And I'm just learning to be okay with figuring things out and sitting in that uncomfortable uncertainty even, because that's where great things are born and that's where great things come from. So it's not the end of the Adult Deck podcast, but it's more so the
rebranding,
rebirth. I like that. So yeah, I feel like this was a really quick episode. It is what it is.
Okay.
As reminders moving forward, all of our entire catalog from episode 1 to episode
34 now.
34 is on our Patreon. We have removed our first season from Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to see that, go on over to our Patreon. Like I said, I'm learning. I promise that we will be getting more content up over there. I promise it will be really good stuff once we get it and once we go. But as of right now, Scott Enterprises is just the two of us. So give us some time. Give us some work.
We'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Comment. Feel free to reach out to us through our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube pages. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and I don't know, just take life a day at a time, a moment at a time, and don't feel like you have to have everything perfect, or don't be afraid to move forward and try new things. Mm-hmm. So that has been another episode of the Adult Deck Podcast. If you can call it a whole episode of the Adult Deck Podcast, it's really
a beginning and an end, so it's an episode.
Alrighty. Please stay tuned. We will have vlogs coming out throughout this break. Once I determine when we will be coming back, I will let you all know so that you can be here and be excited to join us in whatever new form this podcast takes.
Yeah, gameplays will still be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to watch them live, that'll be Saturdays on Twitch and Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. I might start randomly going live. I've been trying to figure out Talk to Me Tuesday. Yeah. I'm figuring a lot of stuff out. So I am pretty sure that all of Scott Enterprises is getting a new facelift while we're on this break.
I'm going to speak this into existence without talking to her first. But whatever Adult Deck turns into, as well as Talk to Me Tuesdays, probably will be the only free stuff for you guys and the gameplays. Whatever else she has planned, that'll be behind the paywall. Patreon, $1.99, I think, $2.99, whatever we decided.
$3, less than a large fry anywhere.
Yeah, not McDonald's.
Maybe.
Dollar menu. They have a $3 menu too, so.
They do?
1, 2, 3, yeah.
Oh. Alright, I don't. Alright. It's been real, y'all. See you later.
It's been real. She always taking my stuff. So, bye. Hey everybody, co-host Peter stopping by to say thanks for watching and to let you know if you like this video, check out last week's video and the playlist with all of our episodes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when our vlogs, podcasts, and gameplays drop. It's been real, y'all.